Iron fire, steam, before gasoline ever touched a carburetor. Farmers were already using machines that ran on boiling water and raw heat. Machines that weighed as much as a small house. Machines that could shake the ground beneath your feet from half a mile away. This is the story of steam-powered tractors. 6 chapters, each one a different machine. Each one stranger and more powerful than the last. The portable engine in the 1850s. Most farms still relied on horses for everything. Plowing, hauling, threshing grain. It was slow, it was expensive, and there were never enough animals. The portable engine was the first answer. It looked like a small locomotive, a horizontal boiler mounted on 4 iron wheels, a tall smokestack at the front, and a flywheel spinning on the side. It did not drive itself. Horses pulled it from field to field. Once it arrived at a job site, workers hitched a long leather belt from the flywheel to a threshing machine or a sawmill. The engine ran. The belt spun. The machine worked. The horses stood to the side and watched. Companies like Ransomes and Marshall in England and Case in the United States built thousands of these units through the 1860s and 70s. By 1875, there were an estimated 15,000 portable steam engines working on American farms alone. What made it remarkable was what it replaced. A portable engine doing the work of a threshing crew could process 200 bushels of wheat in a single day. A hand crew doing the same job needed a week. The irony is that this engine was never designed to move under its own power. It just sat there and spun. But that spinning flywheel changed agriculture faster than anything before it. The traction engine, someone had a simple idea. Why not connect the engine to the rear wheels and let it drive itself? The traction engine appeared in the 1860s. Same boiler, same smokestack, same flywheel on the side, but now a chain or gear linked the crankshaft directly to the rear axle. The machine could move on its own. It weighed between 5 and 20 tons depending on the model. The rear wheels were enormous, sometimes 6 feet tall, with iron cleats bolted to the rim to grip wet soil. The front wheels were smaller and steered with a chain connected to a hand wheel near the operator's platform. The operator stood at the back of the machine. He fed coal into the firebox with a shovel, washed the pressure gauge, and steered. Everything happened slowly. Top speed on a flat road was about 5 miles per hour. Manufacturers like Aveling and Porter in England and Buffalo Pitts in the United States dominated the market through the 1880s. A single traction engine could replace 20 horses and everything that came with them: feed, stabling, veterinary care. Here is the part no one expected. The traction engine was almost impossible to steer on soft ground. The rear wheels were so heavy they sank into wet fields and tore up everything underneath. Farmers quickly learned that steam power worked best on firm, dry ground. The machine that was supposed to conquer the farm had a serious weakness the advertisements never mentioned. The steam plow. John Fowler looked at a field in England and asked a question nobody had asked before. What if the machine never had to drive across the field at all? His answer arrived in 1862. 2 traction engines, one on each side of the field. A steel cable stretched between them, a multi-blade plow attached to that cable in the middle of the field. One engine reeled in its cable. The plow was dragged across the soil. When it reached the far side, the other engine reeled in its cable and dragged the plow back. The machines never moved into the field. They walked up and down the edges while the plow did the work in between. Fowler's double-engine cable system could plow an acre in under an hour. A horse team needed a full day for the same acre. The British Agricultural Ministry called it the single greatest advance in farming technology since the iron plow. The system was used across Britain, Germany, and Egypt. At the peak of its use in the 1880s, Fowler and Company had sold more than 10,000 cable plow sets worldwide. What made it genuinely strange was the precision required. The 2 engineers on opposite sides of the field had to coordinate every movement using flag, signals, and sometimes a speaking trumpet. One mistake in the cable could snap under tension, whipping back across the field with enough force to kill a man. Several men were killed exactly that way. The agricultural steam tractor. By the 1880s, manufacturers wanted one machine that could do everything: plow, thresh, haul, drive itself between jobs. The agricultural steam tractor was the result. It was enormous. The most common models weighed between 10 and 30 tons. The boiler ran the full length of the machine. The rear wheels were taller than most men. The smokestack rose above the operator's head and poured black smoke into the sky. Case Reeves and Minneapolis all built versions. The Case 65 was one of the largest. It produced 65 horsepower, burned a ton of coal every 8 hours, and needed a crew of 3 to operate: an engineer, a fireman to feed the boiler, and a water boy who drove a separate wagon carrying the tanks that kept the boiler supplied. These machines worked the Great Plains of the United States and the Canadian prairies. Crews would run them from sunup to sundown, stopping only to refuel and refill the water tank. At harvest time, a single machine and its crew could cover hundreds of acres in a week. There is a photograph taken in California in 1893. It shows a single steam tractor pulling a combined harvester through a wheat field. The harvesting unit behind it is so wide it required 33 blades. The machine processed an area that would have taken 80 horses and 50 men. The fatal flaw was the weight. The machines were so heavy they compacted the soil beneath them into a layer as hard as concrete. After several seasons, fields that had been plowed by steam tractors began producing lower yields. The machine was slowly destroying the land. It worked. The showman's engine. Not every steam tractor worked in a field. In the 1880s and 90s, traveling fairs were becoming a major business across Britain and the United States. They carried carousels, swing rides, and what were called roundabouts, large spinning platforms powered by belt-driven mechanisms. Somebody needed to power all of it. The showman's engine was a traction engine modified specifically for the entertainment industry. The brass fittings were polished until they reflected light like mirrors. The boiler casing was painted in deep reds and golds. A dynamo was fitted to the front to generate electricity for lights. String after string of electric bulbs ran from the engine out to the rides and food stalls surrounding it. When the showman's engine arrived at a fairground, the process of setting up took several hours. Workers unrolled the cables, connected the belt drives, and tested the lights before the public arrived. When everything was running, the engine sat at the center of the grounds like a lit monument, driving every moving part of the fair from a single crankshaft. Burrell and Fowler were the main builders. Their engines were objects of intense pride for the showman who owned them. Owners gave them names like Supreme, the Lion, and President, and had those names painted in large gold letters on the boiler side. The detail that surprises people is the electricity. Most of Britain was still lit by gas lamps in the 1890s. The traveling fair, running off a steam engine in a muddy field, had electric lighting before the majority of British homes did. The steam traction engine at war. In 1914, when the first armies moved into Belgium and France, they brought horses, hundreds of thousands of horses, and behind them they brought steam. Military planners had been using traction engines for logistics since the Boer War in South Africa. They were slow and loud, but they could haul supply wagons weighing 5 tons over roads that broke wheeled vehicles. In the flat, wet fields of Flanders, they became essential. The British Army operated more than 800 steam traction engines on the Western Front between 1914 and 1918. They hauled artillery shells, food, timber for trenches, and medical supplies. They worked day and night. A single engine on a good road could move 20 tons of supplies in a shift. German forces used them too. So did the French. There were moments along certain supply routes where steam engines from 3 different armies were operating within a few miles of each other, all burning coal, all dragging war supplies toward the same front lines. What ended them was the mud. The same weakness that limited them on farms ended them in war. After major shelling turned the roads of the Somme and Pas-de-Calais into liquid ground, the heavy rear wheels of the steam engines sank and could not be pulled free. The machines were abandoned in place. Some of them are still in the ground. By 1918, the gasoline-powered truck had replaced them. The age of steam on the farm and on the battlefield was over. Hundreds of thousands of steam traction engines had been built across 60 years. By 1930, almost none of them were still working. They were sold for scrap, melted down, turned into other machines. The last one the British Army ever officially operated was scrapped in 1926. No ceremony, no record of exactly where it went.